He hasn't posted a video in months. How am I supposed to know what games he's been playing? I can't go on like this.
I'm surprised by just how many games I played in March, and how many games I managed to miss in my January/February video. Remember, these are just my opinions, and I won't be going over any games I've continued to play since the last video, because that would just bloat this video. So buckle up, and let's jump in with our first title. Dave the Diver has been a huge success, whether you consider it to be an indie game or not. I love how almost everything is a little self-contained minigame, from catching fish with the harpoon, to serving up delectable dishes of sushi, to the actual minigames on Dave's phone. The bright colors of the game are a sight for literal sore eyes when you play as many bleak, dark palette games as I do, thanks to the Souls-like genre. I also appreciate that there is a measure of time constraint in different elements of the game, like how much oxygen you have during a dive, or how long customers are willing to wait before storming off without being served. This keeps any one part of the game from getting stale too quickly by forcing me to continue. At the same time, the game is not designed to be blitzed through. It's a great game for taking a casual break and recovering from burnout. The story doesn't seem to have any standout aspects to it, but the area of the Blue Hole and its residents intrigue me enough with just a sprinkle of wonder and mystery. I don't foresee any unexpected twists before I finish the game, but I was surprised to see new updates recently with content collaborations from other games like Balatro and the Yakuza series. Ooh, baby! This game, mwah, chef's kiss. Guilty Gear Strive is the most recent entry into the Guilty Gear franchise, and it's what single-handedly got me into fighting games. Some people may piss and moan about how it is too casual because Arc System Works managed to make this game so approachable for a beginner like me. So yes, it may not be as mechanically robust as others, but at least it won't give you carpal tunnel syndrome just for attempting a sick string of attacks. More than the gameplay itself, I'm a sucker for the hyper-stylized anime aesthetic. I mean, just look at this cast. They are dripping in personality. I remember when the game first came out, I saw an all-out brawl between a streamer friend of mine playing Soul Bad Guy and Ramlethal Valentine. No joke, I said, hold up, this anime girl has not one, but two giant floating swords? Huh, I'm in. And the rest is history. So, not only are the characters pulling up in badass fits, but their unique interactions and their interconnected lore is a huge pull for me. I haven't even delved into all the cinematics or codecs of past games, but I know I would love it from the little snippets I've caught. For example, this big beautiful man is Gold Lewis Dickinson, the Secretary of Defense for the United States of America in-game. He fights with this giant coffin-shaped weapon with an Area 51 sign not so surreptitiously plastered on the side that clearly has some extraterrestrial being trapped inside. And yet, despite this, Gold Lewis doesn't believe in aliens or ghosts. It's little details and funny quirks like this that really bring characters to life, and I wonder just how many other games put that much thought into their universes. Another diabolically delightful part of the game is the soundtrack that accompanies each match. Each track is so different from the last and is iconic in its own way, making songs that you genuinely enjoy and want to hear, while somehow seamlessly blending them into the background when a fight gets intense. Now, for all the positives that this game has, it does have some downsides, like the somewhat comically long process of connecting to the servers on launching the game, or that most characters are so fun to play, I can't hardly choose a main. Also, I'm stuck in that unfortunate valley of being too good to play with friends and family, but extremely bad when it comes to higher level competitive play against others at tournaments or online. As a brief aside from the games I played, I wanted to give a dishonorable mention to some of the games I tried to play. I own, if you can even say that about games these days, Payday 3, the sequel to, you guessed it, Payday 2, thanks to PlayStation Plus. Since I enjoyed Payday 2 in the past, I figured I'd give 3 a go to see if I could scratch that heisting itch, only to be greeted by a screen asking for my email to create an account before I could play. I uninstalled it on the spot. Not only is trying to type stuff in using a controller absolutely obnoxious, you could probably just use the email associated with my PSN account to spam me with your dog water ads. The same goes for Battlefield 2042, but it's even worse, it being an EA published game and all. I probably already have an EA account from years and years ago, but I wasn't about to fish around for the details just to hop onto something casually. In the last video, I talked about and had some gameplay from Monster Hunter Wilds, but I didn't go into depth because it technically wasn't out for the months of January and February. This is a wonderful sequel in the beloved franchise of Weapon Cult Simulator, but it isn't without its quirks and minor annoyances. Unlike many others, I did not experience a great deal of the bugs that the community complained about. Yes, my game crashed on numerous occasions, which was frustrating, but I wouldn't say that the game was unoptimized. The only time I had any real stutters in frame rate or graphical inconsistencies was during a mandatory follow scene immediately upon entering the oil well basin for the first time. Since then, the game has become a lot more stable, for me at least, and they've already started to roll out some of the free title updates. Speaking of title updates, these content additions brought back several features that I sorely missed upon the game's release. One of these features was the hub, a singular area where you can easily access most, if not all, of the key mechanics for a good hunt, such as the canteen, quest counter, blacksmith, and an item box. Previously, you had to enter your tent just to hot swap items for specific locales or monsters, which wasn't the slowest thing, but it did bog down gameplay. You also had to wait for some random villager from one of the settlements in the area to offer you a meal if you wanted any extra benefits from eating, aside from the health and stamina bolstering effects. Now, you can order your colon-clogging cheese from the comfort of the canteen with the meal voucher, although these are still somewhat hard to come by at the moment. However, perhaps the most infuriating aspect of the game, that is still an issue as far as I'm aware, is the difficulty of partying up for multiplayer hunts, specifically with friends. Monster Hunter Wilds introduced neat squad lobbies that up to 10 invited squad members can drop in and out of at any time. The problem is that inviting people can be a real pain in the ass. You can't send an invite through Steam whatsoever, and the process of inviting people to a squad is quite convoluted. I believe I had to invite friends to a lobby through Lobby Search ID. Only then, once I had been in the same lobby as them, could I view their hunter profile and invite them to become a hunter friend, despite them showing up as a Steam friend. Then, I could invite them to a squad I had made earlier, so in future sessions, we could simply join the same lobby from the start. For a multiplayer-oriented game, I feel Capcom really fumbled the ball on how to party up with friends. Red Dead Redemption 2 is by no means a new game now that I've gotten around to it, but it still holds up to modern titles in many ways. I have yet to finish this game's story, but honestly I'm okay with that, because being such a large, beautiful world, it's easy and fun to get lost and do little side objectives whenever one catches your eye. While I am enjoying my time with the game, I wish Steam and the Rockstar client would recognize my DualSense controller and let me play that way. I've definitely grown accustomed to the mouse and keyboard gameplay for Red Dead 2, but I would swap back in a heartbeat if I could. I also have a small gripe about this game, and practically any game with a morality system built into it. You may have the freedom to act in any manner you choose, good or bad, but the reality is that 9 times out of 10, being morally good in these types of games is the superior choice. It may be easier to make money at the start of Red Dead 2 by being a villainous thug, but you can be quickly inundated with bounty hunters intent on claiming your head. When you frequently have these encounters, you have to consider ammo and gun upkeep more often. You may also need to factor in the cost of you and or your horse dying. Meanwhile, as a goody two-shoes, you get discounts at stores to offset the dip in money you make. You can still get decent money doing a variety of quests, and you're mostly free to wander around and do as you please, without being suddenly and violently accosted by strangers. Let's be honest, no one is surprised to see Balatro on this list. The game has won more awards than I care to research and list here. I did a single stream of Balatro, learning the mechanics of the game before spending more time with it on my own. I gotta come clean and just say it. I don't think it's that good. I enjoy the roguelike elements with randomized blinds and a huge pool of Joker, Celestial, and Tarot cards. I understand and can play around the deck building aspects of the game just fine. There's an astounding amount of replayability and value here. I just don't think it's the kind for me. Although I recognize that there is no actual gambling involved in Balatro, maybe I don't like it because it reminds me a little too much of my time as a bartender in a casino. Hear me out. It was extremely sad watching people come and go, especially on slot machines, pressing the same 1 or 2 buttons over and over and over again. That's how playing the same 1 or 2 poker hands in Balatro feels to me. I just don't understand how that was fun or exhilarating for anyone who walked in the casino doors. Obviously, I know this is not a perfect one-to-one comparison, and you could validly extend the argument that then I shouldn't enjoy any other games because I'm just pressing the same buttons all the time. I don't know. It's just the best way I could express my disappointment. And who knows? Maybe if I just keep playing it here and there, it'll eventually click for me. Chances are, if you're subscribed, you're a fan of the Souls-like genre, like me. And because I'm not just a From Software fanboy, I like to play other titles in the genre that will make fine additions to my collection. Mortal Shell is not one of those, unfortunately. Set in another dark fantasy world of sorts, you play as an empty vessel that can inhabit a select few shells, which are effectively the corpses of past adventurers. A neat mechanic is quickly introduced when you die, because you don't actually die. Instead, you get forcefully ejected from your shell, getting a second chance to re-enter it and continue your fight, while the enemy who killed you is immobilized as a stone statue for a short duration. The problem is that you rarely get back into your shell before the enemy is reanimated, breaking free of their earthen shackles, and if you get hit while outside of your shell, you always get one shot. This is not your fault. For whatever reason, the game makes it really difficult, whether by glitch or design, to get back into your shell quickly, so many true deaths feel undeserved. Another core mechanic of the game that is supposed to set it apart from other games in the genre is the hardening ability, in which you completely negate the damage of an incoming attack. What's cool about this mechanic is that it can be easily used just as offensively as defensive as it is. Simply harden in the middle of an attack animation, and when an enemy hits you, you take no damage and can release the harden to continue your onslaught on a now potentially staggered enemy whose weapon just bounced off of you. Once you get the hang of it, this mechanic completely trivializes the entire game, since there's no need to parry, and you probably wouldn't have enough resolve resource to do a counterattack after a parry anyway, although it makes fights tediously long and repetitive. To the developer or publisher's credit, they had the foresight to make the game just $30 at full price. While visually quite nice, there isn't much going for the game in my opinion. There are only 4 shells and 4 weapons in the base game, and a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 real bosses, along with one being a slightly buffer version of a pre-existing enemy, and another reappearing multiple times while unlocking weapons. This makes for a short Souls-like without much replayability in my eyes. Another somewhat lesser-known Souls-like is Thymesia, what I like to call Plague Souls, because you look like you're role-playing as a Middle Ages doctor thanks to the long beak-like mask. This game, like Mortal Shell, is quite short, but instead of having an interconnected set of locations, the game assigns you quests in mostly linear maps as you search for your missing memories. The mechanics of the game heavily promote the use of parries, and I was more than happy to oblige. Because of this, fights were fast-paced and enjoyable despite my best efforts to make the game harder for myself than necessary. How did I accomplish this, you ask? Well, of just the 3 stats you can level up, I invested heavily in the Plague stat. This increases the amount of injured damage you deal, but enemies can heal this back if given time. Turns out that this is just the worst idea possible. I also favored some odd choices for my Plague weapons. Phantasmal projections of weapons some of the enemies wield. I thought I had a good pick because the hammer knocks down many of the enemies in the game and deals decent damage, but after playing, no one else online seems to share my opinion. Still on the topic of Souls-likes, Sekiro was the only From Software title in the genre that I had never completed before. It's especially funny considering that I made my entire way to the final boss previously, but never saw the fight to completion. This time, however, I streamed the entirety of the Immortal Severance ending, and had far less trouble at any given time than when I've played in the past. The combat is so fluid and dynamic, more so than I ever made it, because I rarely used the Shinobi prosthetic, and yet it still felt incredible to duel this game's standout bosses. At some point, it almost felt like a rhythm game, and it makes it very clear when it is and isn't your turn. Perhaps that's why I struggled like a big wumbo in the past, because I was so impatient. If there's one game in this video that you've probably never heard of, I'd wager it would be Rollerdrome. I remember seeing a trailer for this and being really intrigued by the roller skating, gun-toting, sick-flipping action. I'm not really sure what else I expected, but as soon as the combo point counter appeared and I knew I was being scored akin to something like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, it sapped a lot of the fun out of the game for me. It makes a lot of sense in the context of the world because it's a highly spectated blood sport, but I didn't really enjoy feeling the pressure to get things done quickly and doing them in a varied, complex way to achieve the highest score. From the creators of Rick and Morty, this super high intellect first-person shooting game was about as much fun as when someone jumps onto a McDonald's counter screaming about Szechuan sauce. I don't know. I got a good chuckle from the dialogue every now and then, but I wasn't super invested in the story, the characters, or the gameplay. There's not much to say about Doki Doki Literature Club since it came out so long ago. All that really matters is that Monika did nothing wrong and is best girl. I've had a friend glaze the Mafia series before, so after acquiring the remaster for myself, I thought I'd give the first entry a try. I don't think the game is necessarily bad or good. It was just different from what I imagined. I guess I thought it would be basically GTA, if GTA was set somewhere between the 1920s and 1960s. If I wasn't dead set on coming first in that one rigged race mission, I would probably go back and finish this game. I almost forgot about Wuthering Waves entirely among the other gachas I dabbled in back in the February-March timeframe, until I recently saw an announcement about a collab with Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Honestly, I might still have been playing this open-world Genshin Impact style gacha if I hadn't been absolutely shafted by the gacha. I don't care that Encore and Verena are S tier. I am not a lolly lover! Fury is another game that I played on stream, and while it's not an action RPG Souls-like that I like to focus on for streams, it's still a difficult hack-and-slash bullet hell with that slick cyberpunk aesthetic. The game is a rather short boss rush, but each fight feels distinct from the others, with a fresh mix of varying speed and size projectiles, area denial attacks, and narrow timings in close quarters combat. If none of that is interesting to you, you can always just jam to the banger soundtrack, but you're really missing out if you don't even try to get to the boss who beats the snot out of you with a freaking boat oar. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you disliked it, and subscribe while you're here. It really helps me out.